Hey everyone, it's Sleepy Reader here for my first parking lot vlog. My sleepy vlog that will be done here in the parking lot on my lunch break. I've got some coffee. Do baristas get bored of people with all their boring coffee orders? Sorry Mark, I got a soy latte. I had a few things I wanted to talk about. The biggest one on my mind, and I'm not sure if I'm going to express myself very well, is inspired by Harry Monster 666. He did a video on the Swamp Thing. He reread the entire Snyder run all at once, leading up to Snyder's final issue in issue 18, where some kind of big events happen. And the thing that struck me about it is the events include a death and sort of the tragedy of a relationship that's never going to have a happy time. And it somehow, with other stuff that's been going on in my mind about comic books and all the different characters dying and so many kind of mass murderers in comic books lately. And I was thinking, this is, I suppose, kind of trite, maybe for college sophomores or whatever, but I was thinking about how one of the big things I read things like comic books for, when you really kind of look at it, or this hit me while listening to Harry Monster, is the denial of death. We are all going to die in the end. We all are going to lose in terms of the material world. I mean, there may or may not, depending on your own beliefs, be a spiritual hereafter. But for those of us focused on the world here, the end is coming. It's not going to be great for anybody. I hope I go, with a heart attack in the night, not some long bout with cancer, but we all have something like that coming towards us. And I got distracted. Someone walked by. All these walkers, I mean, what do they think? They're allowed to walk through a parking lot? There was just one person. So, fiction, and particularly kind of heroic stuff about powerful people, and comic books that just sort of go on forever, there's a denial of death there. There's that feeling of winning, of not a downward decline, but an upward winning. And when comic books get too grim and there's too much of this stuff, I think it gets me down for exactly that reason. Not because, Damian Wayne's not a real person. The characters in Swamp Thing are not real people. When Massacre in Spider-Man is killing all these people, it's just imaginary. But it does remind you of the real world and of pain and suffering, and that, viewed in terms of just the material world, we're all headed towards defeat. You don't think about this as a thing when you're a kid, although I think that fear of death, that denial of death, is still part of the appeal of fantasy stories and superhero stories and all of that. It just becomes more apparent to you and more poignant to you if you keep reading those kinds of things as you get older. I am at what I like to think of as late middle age, but death looms closer now. Lots of people have more health problems. I have friends who've had cancer. Parents definitely have had cancer. I've been lucky so far to have no parents die, but that's going to happen. And they've had a lot of health problems. And my parents, you become aware as you get older that what's happening to them is going to happen to you. And it's very depressing for my parents as many of their friends die or get dementia or long bouts with cancer. And I'm late to the game of parenthood, being an older parent. So I think any parent, whatever the age, when you have children, especially when they're first born, you have this fear that they're going to die. I used to get up in the middle of the night and peek in the bedroom to make sure my daughter was still breathing when she was really little, because of the whole SIDS thing and just all these other things. You feel this intense responsibility for their well-being, which eventually you get used to, and it's not as much of a daily thing. But when my daughter was first born, and maybe those first 6 or 8 months, I felt this intensity of that emotion. And maybe in my male role, I felt I was supposed to be the protector, the provider of security in all ways. So that all, for me, ties back into comic books. In comic books, although heroes have problems, at least when I'm reading mainstream superhero comics or other things that have a certain kind of vibe to them, where that aren't like hardcore horror comics or whatever, I'm expecting mostly good outcomes because I want those. They make me feel good. It seems trite. It seems like you're a shallow person. The deep intellectuals are happy with stuff that's all depressing, etc. And I've read my share, I think, of deep intellectual books, although I've always, preferred science fiction and comic books. But, when I want the Swamp Thing, or say Ben Grimm, he's a classic example. He is a sort of tragic figure because he's trapped in the body of a monster, and that makes him more compelling. But I still want him to have lots of victories and lots of heartwarming moments, the feeling of camaraderie that he gets and everything. I want things to go well for him overall. I want many more ups than downs, really. Like the current run of Captain America, so far he's been losing. He's been squished and squashed, and he's not doing very well. And I assume it will work out in the end, but I really hope it's him kicking ass. The other thing is, part of the fantasy and the denial of death is the competent person who overcomes problems. Death and decay we can't overcome, but to get our minds off of that, to feel better, we want the fantasy of overcoming things. And we can overcome things in our daily life in lots of small little ways. We can successfully deny death's grip over us and decay's grip over us. And even when we're sick or when we're afraid of death, we can overcome that. And fantasy fiction helps us in that somehow. So I want... And I haven't read the last issue of The Swamp Thing. Thanks to Harry Monster. I was going to skip it, but thanks to Harry Monster, I was compelled and I bought it. And I need to buy the second Swamp Thing trade, and then I'll be able to read the whole run as he did, and I think I will enjoy it. At least I will have had a lot of food for thought thanks to Harry. Lost my track of thought again. So, but basically, so this is where I get kind of pissed at the sort of short-term bang for their bucks that the creators can get by making really horrible things happen a lot. They get a lot of attention, although it gets more and more watered down. I don't think, well, it's partially because they didn't have enough issues out there to sell, but I don't think the death of Damian Wayne sold nearly as much as the death of the first Robin, or many other deaths. And all of this runs in, there's kind of a conflict, because a writer does have to make a lot of bad things happen to their character to have an interesting plot. But in the nature of serial comic books, I do need an overall winning trend, not an overall losing trend. And maybe, Batman is a character who walks that fine line because he's always on the edge of insanity, and his life may not be that good in certain ways because it's devoted to crime fighting. But I want a series of victories, and I want his competent, or more than competent, hero to overcome and through his own resources to succeed against the bad guys, against the forces of decay and death and destruction. So that's what I was saying about Captain America. Currently, he seems to be missing all the opportunities to take control. And I need that take control from superheroes. I need them to be better and not victims of random circumstance. And I don't want to be a victim of random circumstance myself. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I can overcome that. So yeah, there's that conflict because we want the denial of death, but you need the threat of death and decay to make interesting stories. But I think the good writers can do something with that without succumbing to it. And like Mark Waid's Daredevil would be a great example of that. And I feel, this is going to sound really weird, but this connection that some of us have through comic books is a great denial of death. It's a taking control. It's a, by finding people who we can speak to and such, we deny maybe it's not decay, but the kind of human condition of being trapped and alone, or whatever you will. I need to be an existential philosopher to express myself better. But anyhow, I think you get the general gist of that. And so, yeah, I've been repeating Harry Monster 666's name a lot. He's one of the great new YouTubers. I think he started doing videos pretty recently. And I think he either in a comment, but maybe in an IM, let me know that he was starting to do videos. And I went over, checked out his channel, and I was really glad I did. And right now, YouTube's redesign is, I think, going to really hurt this community. Hopefully they will redesign it more, and we'll get used to it and find ways around it. Spiro Dotgeek has a video where he talks about ways to get around it. He suggests posting more stuff to Twitter about when you do a new video, and to Google+, and I suppose to Facebook too. I don't know if he mentioned that. I kind of avoid Facebook. I just somehow don't like dealing with it. Although I am on Facebook, I can have chats with people on Facebook because Facebook connects to my IM client without me actually being on Facebook. Anyway, so what I do whenever I get a new subscription is I click on that person's channel and see if they're doing any comic book videos, and if they are, I subscribe to them. If you're doing gaming videos or toys and models or other things, that's cool, but I don't subscribe to it because I have kind of devoted, my channel when I'm Sleepy Reader to just comic books. And I have already like 325, 350 subscriptions. So, and a lot of those people aren't active, but still it's a huge amount of stuff rolling in. And if I add in toys and other things that I only might occasionally be interested in viewing, it just gets too crazy. So I apologize if I haven't subscribed to your channel and you've subscribed to mine. If you've subscribed to my channel and I checked out yours and nothing was going on, if you later start doing videos about comic books, let me know, because I'm very interested. I will check them out. But I can't tell that you've done that unless you let me know. In a comment, in an IM, I'm happy to hear from you. Constant Braumstar talked in his recent Sunday vlog about how just about all of us would love to hear from you. Contact us. Some people, you see that they're online, but they're really quite busy, and you don't want to bother them. I'll let you know, you can bother me. I'm at work when you see me online. But, like if you're connected to me through Google Plus or Facebook, But you can chat to me, and unless I'm super busy, I won't answer you right away. If I'm super busy, I won't answer you right away, but I will eventually answer you because I have the kind of work where I do some work, I stop, take a mini break, do some work, take a mini break. So it makes it easy to have light chats with people. But the main thing is, if you're starting videos, let me know. As everyone's noticed, the community is growing faster. I came in almost a year ago now, maybe 10 months ago, 11 months ago, 10 months ago, and it was I was a later wave, but there have been several waves of people since, and so we just need to find ways to let each other know. And if in the past I've noticed some people who I think are a little upset that their channel didn't take off, and some people start out and right away they get 50 subscribers and then 100 or whatever, and other people go kind of unnoticed. And there's no magic solution, but you definitely want to, when you're starting up your own channel, leave a lot of comments. And sometimes when I see someone's comment, I already know that they do comic book videos, but if I've missed them lately, it reminds me to go check out their channel when I see a comment on my channel, on one of my videos. And along with, comment a lot when you're first starting out, to let people know you're out there, and don't just do a comment that said, come check out my videos. Just make a comment on their video, say hi or say something more specific, and chances are they'll come look at your video. And another thing I noticed new people doing, and this may be totally cool with them, but putting out lots of videos. They're all excited. They start doing videos. Hey, this is fun. So they put out a ton, and they get even less views, especially if they don't have very many subscribers. And if you put out a lot of videos all at once, you're going to get less views for them. Even if you have a lot of subscribers, the more videos you put out, the less views per subscriber. So I would unless you just love putting out the videos and you don't care how many viewers see them, I would start out a little slower, maybe 2 videos a week, and then doing the commenting and letting people discover your videos. This is just my advice from what I've seen. You don't have to take it at all, and everybody's different. And the other thing that I think, and again there are many exceptions to it that work anyway, but if you put more stuff in the title that's informative, people are more likely to find you. If you just put subscriptions 10.2, less people are going to find you than if you say, comic book reviews of, and list some of the comic books you're talking about, because people might be searching on Batman or searching on comic book reviews or that sort of thing. And that may matter less once you have a solid group of subscribers who are just used to your videos, although I still believe in putting something in the title that's informative. Low battery, dismiss. Okay. So I'm probably running low on time. I won't list a whole lot of people I've been watching lately, but Scott Grady is a new guy I've discovered. I'm not sure how new he is, but I really like him. I'll put a link below. And The Comic Book Lowdown by Wellington, you guys should check that out. And I'll try as often as I can in videos to mention 1 or 2 newer or newish people I've found. And some guys who aren't so new, but their new kind of podcast is new, called ExcaliburBrits, and their first episode was excellent, and I highly suggest everyone check that out. It's one of the best sort of group hangout talking videos I've seen in a long time, because those are hard to make really interesting, but they were organized, and I think gave it a little bit of thought ahead of time, and it came out quite good. Yesterday I went back to my comic book store, mostly because I wanted to see if they had Helheim, and they still didn't have Helheim, and they never got it at all. And they said it was the fault of Diamond distributors, and I think that is one of the problems of current comic book store stuff, is there's only one distributor, so they're not under any pressure to give great service. And I wonder if they, when there's some scarcity of a comic book, that if they play favorites a little bit. So I picked up Swamp Thing because of Harry Monster's suggestions. I grabbed Green Arrow, which I'd somehow missed last Wednesday, because I'm still very excited about the Sorrentino artwork here, and semi-excited by what Lemire's doing, but maybe in the next issue or two he'll really grab me. And then I don't usually have a lot of time in the comic book store, but I had a little extra time, so I crawled through the $1 bin, and there was Uncanny Avengers issue number 2. Maybe I can give someone the digital code on that. Captain Marvel number 7. It kind of amazed me that this was already in the bin. And I think that store will, if they just don't sell enough copies of what they bought, they'll throw some in the bin and leave some on the racks. So it's almost worth checking the dollar bin. So anyway, I'm not sure how recent this Miss Marvel is. It's number 7. I don't know what it's up to now. But I've heard people saying Miss Marvel's gotten quite good. Sorry, Captain Marvel has gotten quite good. So I thought it'd be fun to check out for $1. I grabbed this because of Garcia Lopez and George Perez art. I don't know how long ago this came out. September 05. So that'll be fun. Another one that I was shocked was already in the bin, The Fearless Defenders number 1. Didn't this just come out? They must have way over-ordered on it. And then, I don't know anything about this, Garrison number 1, but it's got Francavilla art, maybe from earlier in his career, so that'll be interesting to check out. Black Summer by Warren Ellis and Juan Jose Ripe. I'm becoming a huge fan of Juan Jose Ripe art, although some of his older art maybe isn't fully up to it. And then I just saw this iVampire number 3 with this terrible, terrible cover. I think I jumped on iVampire around number 8 or 9, so I need to pick up the back issues. It's kind of weird seeing what ends up in the dollar bin. And I felt kind of, since I'm probably not going to read the Swamp Thing right away because I want to read the whole arc, maybe I should have waited to see if this makes it in dollar bin, but it might not. So, I don't know. What was I going to say? Oh, at the comic book store, I was kind of overhearing them talking, and I got slightly involved in the conversation about how it's like the 90s again, with the foil covers and the variant covers. But they were also claiming that these shortages of number 1 issues, particularly like the Image issues, is like the 90s, whereas I didn't think it was that. I don't know enough maybe about that side of things. The whole thing where there's a shortage of a brand new number 1, and then, within a day of it going on sale, the prices blow up on eBay. And they thought that Image was doing that on purpose, that they were shorting things so that the prices would shoot up. And that didn't really make sense to me, because unless Image is secretly selling copies on eBay, what motivation would they have to do that? So I didn't hear an explanation of that at my comic book store. It might be the thing blows up on eBay, and then everyone says, I have to have a copy, I have to have a copy. And then the next week they ship more copies to the comic book store and it sells more issues. I don't know if that really works, and if Image would really be doing it on purpose, or if that was just my comic book store people's paranoia. But they have a lot of troubles with Diamond distributors, and often are missing comics and blame it on Diamond. And of course, I don't know the full story. Diamond might say that it's their own fault and they goofed up in some way. But anyway, I've babbled on long enough. I'm going to have to go back to work in about 10 minutes. I'm going to look over these comic books a little bit. And at work, I'll be listening to many of your videos when I can, posting little thoughts on Twitter. I think on Twitter I'm Sleepy Reader 2. So anyway, I hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you again soon.